The announcement as it happened. Well, let's get full reaction for you now. We'll be live in the Palm Ridge Magistrates Court, where the High Court has been sitting. Our reporter Zakona Chona, she's live with the community of Bushbuck Ridge, the hometown, if you like, of Rosemary Ndlovu. Well, of course, Malungelo, boy, you've been following the story today. Very dramatic in courts. How did everyone react when the final verdicts were handed down? Malungelo boy, a reaction for us, please. How did the court react as those judgments were handed down? The 6 verdicts of guilty for Rosemary Ndlovu.
Hi there, Stephen. That's right. In fact, one of her relatives who was in court immediately left the courtroom after that judgment was essentially handed down and Rosemary Ndlovu being taken out of court. But Stephen, Rosemary Ndlovu was not only found guilty on those 6 counts of murder, she was also found guilty on 4 counts of fraud. This relates really to defrauding the insurance companies, including Asupol, Old Mutual, Clientele, and One Life. Of course, we're told that she had in fact orchestrated the killing of her relatives in order to be able to cash in on those life policies. But she's also been found guilty of conspiracy to murder. Let's take a listen at Judge Monama.
On the conspiracy, count 11, I found that the state has not proven its case beyond reasonable doubt, and the accused is not found guilty and discharged on that count. On count 13 and counts 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20, that is attempted murder, the accused is found guilty of the crime of incitement and not attempted murder.
Stephen, the NPA has welcomed today's judgment. In fact, it says that it's hoping that when this matter now goes on sentencing, it will actually get a life sentences being imposed to Rosemary Ndlovu. But also, Stephen, I think it's important to note that what Judge Monama noted while handing down her judgment, saying that, you know, this case was essentially based on circumstantial evidence, and also that the state relied on similar facts. You'd want to know then, Stephen, what are those similar facts? The similar facts is that Rosemary Ndlovu was the sole beneficiary in all the life policies and insurances that she in fact had taken, when these people were actually, when her relatives were killed. But also, Stephen, interestingly enough, she was the last person who was either seen interacting with some of those who have actually died. And the court actually saying that this has actually, was the nail in the coffin for Rosemary Ndlovu. And of course, one of the investigating officer in the case telling us that he is actually also quite pleased with today's ruling, and this will hopefully give closure to those that have lost their loved ones in this case. Stephen.
Malungelo boy, thanks very much indeed. I do know we'll have more reaction from you as we go through the afternoon. From the drama in court to Bushbuck Ridge, the hometown of Rosemary Ndlovu. Her sister is there, and of course Ndlovu found guilty, convicted on 6 counts. Our reporter Zakona Chona in Bushbuck Ridge. Zakona, good afternoon to you. The community of Bushbuck Ridge, I'm sure, following this drama in court very, very closely today. What reaction there so far?
In fact, the local tavern here has opened up its doors to community members to come in and view the trial since the start of it. The street that I'm standing on is actually the street where both Rosemary's mother and her sister live on. We spoke to the sister earlier this morning saying that she's heartbroken about what has happened. We also went to the mother. She's locked her doors completely. She managed to come out for a few seconds to say that she's simply not able to speak on this matter currently. We know that her mother testified in her defense during the trial. But this community has been shaken. This community is now gripped with fear. They're saying that they hope that the courts will ensure that she never returns yet. It's simply unbelievable that someone who was living among them is now found guilty of gruesome murders of 6 people. But one of those community members is Kenny. Kenny, you knew Sis Rosemary. What kind of person was she? What did you know about her?
No, Sis Rosemary, nimtiva arkahle kukuleni ka yehe. Sen le ku hlamaleni ku sweswinyana I munhu loyi se a nga cinca swilo leswi vula swa ku I swi kume ku hala Joni. Mara hina as a community a ya ha tsakeli ku hi nga mi vona a kumeka a ri la ka community ya hina ya New Forest. Hi tsakela ku court a nga ku hi nga mu nyika life sentence ku a nga deserve ku a nga hanya na vanhu hi ku ya hi vutomi lebyi a hanyaka byona. So a ya ha naveli ku hi nga tlhela hi mi vona futhi la ka tiko ra hina ra New Forest. Yeah.
One of the community members there, Stephen, saying that they do not wish to see her back in this community again, saying that they hope that the court hands her down a life sentence. As I've mentioned, a lot of the people here have been speaking about a fear. A lot of people saying they are now scared, they don't know who to trust. Similar to her sister who's saying that this was her blood that had plotted to kill her and didn't succeed. Fortunately, she was arrested on her way to conspiring to kill her sister, torture in her home with her 5 children. Her sister fortunately survived that plot and now lives to tell the tale, but the community is saying they simply don't want her back. They are now scared, they don't know who to trust, and they are pleased with today's judgment.
Corner, the other aspect to all of this is that Rosemary Ndlovu is a former police officer. She used to wear the police uniform. She used to have a gun and badge. She was someone who would have had legal power.
And I think that's why this has been so unbelievable for the people here. They simply think it's unimaginable that someone who was supposed to uphold law and order is now found guilty of murdering 6 people. And also, not just that, fraud, killing them so that she can get money from an insurance companies. People here are simply in disbelief, which is why they've been they've been glued to TV screens, trying to make sure that they are up to date with what happens in this trial. I think it's also just an element of shock has gripped these people. But a lot of them this morning when we arrived saying that they are fearful to even speak to the media because they don't know whether she'll come back and kill them. A lot of people sharing the sentiment of saying, we don't trust her, we don't trust that she'll ever come, we don't trust that she would never come back here and kill anyone in this community, because they're saying that even while she was arrested, there was a case where she was found trying to plot to kill someone who was outside of prison. So in this community, there's a lot of mistrust now when it comes not only to her, but certainly also to her mother, because the community knows that her mother testified in her defense in that court case, which is why I think we find the mother in the position that she's in right now. Her gate is locked, all windows shut, all her doors are closed. We spoke to her through her peeping via a back door, and she said, I'm not available to talk to you. I'm not going to talk about this matter, because the community also now is saying she stood in court and defended someone who was accused of these murders, 6 people dead, and a woman left their community to go and testify in defense of her daughter accused of such gruesome murders. And they're saying that even with her, they don't know whether they can trust her either.
Corner, obviously the implications of this is the kind of case that can divide a community, can make life very difficult, not just for Rosemary Ndlovu, who now, of course, will go through a sentencing procedure, but it's going to make it very difficult for her family in that community in the future. What you're talking about is going to have a long-term consequence for this poor mother.
We have a case here where the sister was a state witness in this matter, because her sister was actually the last person that Rosemary had attempted to murder. We know that she had traveled from Gauteng to Mpumalanga in an attempt to torch a house that her sister was living in with 5 of her children, and she was planning that she will get money from her policy for her sister's death. There's actually a video recording where she's detailing how exactly this plot must work out, where she says she's not going to get money for the 5 children, but the children can't live to tell the tale. The children can't live to be witnesses. So everybody in that house must die. The sister saying that she simply cannot believe that her own blood plotted to kill her. Now, then we have a mother who stood by her daughter and said that she simply does not believe that her daughter is guilty of murder. There's that relationship now which has been strained. I spoke to the sister this morning and I asked her, how is the relationship now between you and her mother? And she said she's fine to interact with her mother, but her mother hasn't spoken to her since she went to court. The sister still believes that the mother should have gone to court and told the truth of what happened. So not only is it straining a relationship between families, but also now the community doesn't know whose side well, this community knows whose side to be on, and that's on the side of Rosemary's sister, which is who we're going to speak to later on, just to get a reaction from her about this judgment, because I know when I spoke to her earlier on this morning, she said she hopes that the justice system will rule in support of those who have lost their loved ones in this matter. So certainly it hasn't only divided a family, but it's also divided a community and gripped a community with fear. Not only do they not know who to trust, but they don't know what's coming next because of what has happened here.
Zakona Shona in Bushbuck Ridge, part of our reporting team, the latest on the Rosemary Ndlovu case, found guilty on 6 counts of murder. Zakona, thank you very much indeed. In a